And that gives us a total of 1819, just over 1900, and Milne Bruce 2335.
It's unbelievable.
We'll get to the thank yous in a minute.
The reign of hope and integrity is upon us. Thank you all for bearing with us over the last 3 years. Alice and I have had our challenges, to put it politely, but we have prevailed, and we thank you all very much for your support over those 3 years. And this is a community that has been filled with anger over the last 3 years. Well, maybe not entirely 3 years, but the more often you see an orange car, the more you see red.
Mahatma Gandhi, you should be the change you want to see in the world. It's not easy to step up. In this community over the last 3 years, we've had what Mike just called a reign of terror. The letters to the paper, even a year ago in the summer, Wendy Gilbertson wrote one about the fear and intimidation of even answering a telephone survey correctly. There was a letter in the paper only 2 weeks ago by Val Swanson, which was heavily edited, which talked about the fear and intimidation that the business community finds, that they in fact cannot be open about what they're thinking and supporting. I had an argument this morning, a debate, I guess, with a business person about this issue. How do you stay on the fence when your community is being destroyed, when you know what's happening to businesses? She said, business leaders, they're afraid that if Henderson gets in, they're going to be crushed. And I said, you can use that language, which tells me you know exactly what's going on, and you don't have the courage to stand in your community and say, this is wrong, this can't go on. So we're going to have a conversation in this community over the next year on bullying, on intimidation, on fear, and we're going to make sure it never happens again. We're going to make sure our community is really... One of the few things that made me really angry, but we really do have to step up and make sure that we do speak when your voice feels challenged, that you do stand up. It's not easy being a candidate. Ask Mike, Alice, Doug, Keith, any of the ones who are candidates. It's not easy, but you have to do it if you believe in your community. And I want you to believe in your community as we carry on. Claude keeps telling me to keep the mic close to my voice, so I'll try and do that. I'm going to stop now. I want to thank you for all your efforts. If there's anything left, enjoy yourself with what it is. We're going to have a good 4 years. And just thank you for your support and for everything you've done.
They're almost identical to what it was at that time. And so nothing changes, everything continues. I think I'll make it really brief, and so I'm going to introduce Bruce Milne, hopefully the next mayor of Sechelt.
Thank you and welcome.
Saying to everyone is in 4 years, be prepared again, because these guys are going to come back and want their town back.
First off, huge thank yous to everybody in this room. I am very humbled and very honored. It's going to be great to be in that room with Bruce and Doug and Darren and Noel. I was hoping I would be the only woman. Maybe I'll be the only lady. Thank you.
As you know who Claude is, he's the one who makes sure there's at least another bottle of wine behind the desk. That's his main job. Most important. Claude and I, this is our third election. And when I saw him sometime in the summer and he was walking down Davis Bay Road and I said, hey. And he stopped and I said, do you want to come out of retirement? And he looked at me and said, what are you thinking? And I said, well, I think we don't have much choice, actually. So Claude has been doing the communications, the ads, the texts. He's one of the few people in this town that he and I can disagree with, fight really hard, butt heads, and still smile the next day, and still take me out on his boat on occasion, not as frequently as he should. But it's good. So I want to thank Claude for putting up with me. I'm a very, very difficult person to work with, pretty demanding, a lot of expectations. and he takes it with a smile and with pretty big shoulders, and he pushes back probably better than anyone else in the room would be allowed to. So thank you. It's pretty hard to run a marketing and communications campaign in Sechelt when there's got to be 1,001 retired marketers in this town, all who know how to do it better. And that's our biggest challenge. I want to thank Jan Major, who's I've been working with on the Arts Council, the treasurer, and she's the financial agent. She had her name everywhere, all over town. So if you didn't know her allegiance before, you now know Jan Major, financial agent, and I want to thank her for all of that. Bob Darcy, standing in front of us, has been doing the website and the technical, all of the stuff behind it keeps the website there. And if you want to know how difficult I am to work with, you can ask Bob anytime how difficult I am to work with. Because I'm, again, pretty demanding and I know exactly what I want and it eventually gets there. So thank you, Bob, for all of that. And then Charles Burns. I knew we can't run a big machine. This is grassroots and community. And Charles was able to bring his background, his network, his support from progressive politics and a particular party, and bring that to bear. And it took just this huge load when I said, oh, Charles Burns is going to be able to work on our campaign. We can add this on to all the ones that Nicholas and Charles is one, and one more for Sechelt. Thank you. Lots more. I want to thank the candidates that are in the room and the candidates that aren't here. I knew on September 15th when we did this launch, and we had 11 or 12 candidates in the room, that John Henderson didn't have a chance. He just did not have a chance. Because Doug Wright, Ed Steeves, Keith Thurwell, Darren Inkster, Alice Lutes, on and on and on. We're out there doing the work they needed to do. And that's where this election was won. Candidates talking to individual people on the streets and saying, this is the direction we want to go, and oh, I don't think there's really an option when you look for the mayor's chair. So thank you very much for all the candidates. Something in Sechelt called a third-party sponsor. I don't know, the government created this category called third-party sponsors, and Sechelt has more per capita, more per population than any other place in British Columbia. So let's start with George Goody, plus the John category, and alongside. I had not met George until I think the last week of August. Other people were suggesting we get together. I finally went over and talked to him. He's been running a campaign against John Henderson for at least 2.5 years, and he deserves a lot of recognition for this long battle. So there's a smaller organization called Vote for Change. Nobody's ever heard of them before, but they sure had an impact. Thank you to Don and Jen and Yuva and Don Rob and then the people who came together, fed information into Vote for Change and allowed them to do the work that they knew they needed to do. So Vote for Change, great. Is it Graham or Gordon Walker? Money to burn. Graham Gordon. Not sure.
John.
Yeah, he's not here. Again, took it entirely on himself. I don't know the man. I met him like twice in 10 years. He took it entirely on himself to register and to come forward and make these ads. And he actually had a couple more that the Coast Reporter wouldn't publish. My favorite was Milne for the future and Henderson for history. I don't know why they didn't like it. Maybe it was what came after that. So I'm going to forget people if I continue thanking.
Mark Nixon. Yes.
But Mark has also been fighting Henderson on issue after issue after issue. He's one of the watchkeepers of our community, and we need them. They've been trying to call attention to what's been going on. People weren't listening when the election came on. They stepped up, took their voice out, and did the work that they need to do. Ann and Alex have already been up here thanking me with the Storm Bourbon, which I appreciate. When I said this was a community campaign, 2 people really stepped up. One of them was Betty Ann. She said, how do I start fundraising? How do I do this? We would not have had scrutineers in this election if it wasn't for Betty Ann, who actually organized all of the scrutineers, not just for us, but for the other candidates as well, and spent the last 72 hours, in particular over the last 10 days, pulling together scrutineers so we made sure this was an honest vote. So thank you, Betty Ann, for the scrutineers. Thank you for the support in August. Thank you for the vote. And another man that I never met until August, Bob Everman, artist, black hat, does a lot of these videos, and again has been struggling with Henderson for a long, long time, since Henderson acts the Arts Committee, which we will find a way to bring arts and culture back into the forefront. If there's anything that will bring us together, it's going to be the cultural community. It's the cultural community that speaks for all of us, brings us together in so many different ways. And there's no question that the culture is going to be at the forefront of the next 4 years and forever after, because it's going to be so well established by the time we're finished they won't be able to undo the budget. Lots of donors in the room, some large, some small, some reached deep into pockets that I know were almost empty. And the burden that came on Irene and Bruce when we started seeing those donations come in was just about enough to make me stop, because the expectations associated with $50, $150, $1,000, $1,300, $1,500, $2,000 and up was just unbelievable. I didn't hear that at the time.
You make an auctioneer.
Yeah, well, there was a time about a month ago I looked at Irene and said, maybe we should do this for a living. The community came together because they knew this had to be done. They saw what happened in 2011. Everyone saw what happened in 2011. I didn't ask for those donations. I didn't have to touch anyone on the shoulder and say, hey, I'm really running low on this. People just stepped up, and they stepped up. People stopped on the door that I'd never seen before, knocked on the door and said, here, this is for you. People came with envelopes, people mailed things in, people had cash on occasion. We made sure it was written down so we knew exactly what it was. It was just wonderful, but it was pretty difficult in terms of expectations. It was really made it real. And it made it hard. There was checks we know these people pretty well. There was checks we wanted to send back and say, do you want to change this? Drop a couple of digits off? I mean, this, we know. These were deep and meaningful, and there were people who said, our community has got to get through the last 3 years, and the only way we can do it is if we come together and choose community values. We have chosen community values tonight, and I'm really, really proud of you for doing that. So the next 4 years are going to be a lot of work. I don't want you to go away. I want Mark Nixon to continue watching every single thing the council does. I want Ben Forrest and Shirley Kusiak to keep here and make sure they do things. In 1996, it seems like a long time ago, where's Claude? We ran on something called democracy. And we talked about democracy and democratization and the Democracy Project, and we played Leonard Cohen's Democracy is Coming, all this stuff. We were young. Here it is, 214. All we ran this time on was good governance, which shows what's happening.
Long hair.
Yeah, I actually had it. Yeah. There's a reason why I wear hats now. Democracy and participation and engagement, and we hit the ground running in 96 on a far, I was going to say far left, but a democratization project that was the envy of British Columbia. People were phoning us about what we were doing. But you know, about 3 months into 1998, about 3 months after the election, I was talking to some people on the street that I hadn't seen around, Serge Clarendon being one of them, other people from community associations. They said, look, we ran an election so that we could engage the entire community and you people could run the government. You're the community. I want you to run. I'm here as a representative. They said, oh, we don't have to go to meetings anymore. You're elected. No. We want you there. We want you to be engaged. We want you to take part. We want you to be giving us feedback so that we know what you're thinking and we know what direction to go. I don't want to turn around in 2 years and find out that Milne and his council are out of touch. Okay, so make sure you stay in touch, come to the meetings, let us know what's going on, and make sure we